your wealth of knowledge on these two open division teams. Since you casted them for so long, you know these players, you know these teams. But Team Freedom, HeroesHearth isn't going to choose Battleground pick. They're going to change it up. They're choosing first pick. Team Freedom's picking towers.
Yeah, if there was one that I would have said, it would have been Dragonshire.
Okay.
If they were, it seems like they're going to prioritize that first pick instead. But Dragonshire used to kind of be like their fallback. Used to be like Tomb, Dragonshire, things like that. Instead, I think they're prioritizing that first pick a little bit higher than maybe that Battleground, especially the fact that, you know, we've seen kind of first pick have a little bit greater effect the last few games, getting that Genji, playing around that Genji-Hanzo battle. You know, we saw the bans in the previous one, and then it let Hanzo through for Crowan. You got to think he feels good about that one. If they can get that again, I think that'll be something they can go. If not, they might fall back on the Genji, hopefully not on the same style that they had that last game.
Yeah, Dragonshire didn't exactly go well versus Tempo Storm. It was a Tempo Storm pick, to my knowledge, too, when HeroesHearth played versus them. And it kind of seems like it's trending that teams are more willing to pick the Battleground choice at the earlier on in the series. Try to make sure that you get a lead, an edge. You're playing on your comfort map so that you can put on a show and maybe scare your opponents a little bit. But now getting into the later stages, you know what the maps are going to be. They have their Battleground choice that seems to be the constant ban of Brexus, so at least they don't have to worry about that one.
Towers of Doom, ever exciting here. Maybe? I feel like, man, with Freedom being second pick, it means, I was going to say, I was about to just make the point on would they be willing to commit to an Abathur early game. I didn't even get a chance to make that point. They banned it too quickly.
Yeah, Freedom did that versus Gale Force, and it was a huge problem. You're talking like, oh, we'll get some bell towers, we'll mule them up. Never even got the chance because they lost their bottom bell tower so early on, and Gale Force never let them have it back. It was like 3/4 into the game. Finally, Team Freedom took back their bell tower. And by that point, they had lost far too many altars. So no Abathur. Genji, ETC, Hanzo, all big picks.
I feel like we're going to get a Hanzo here. You know, with Genji available, it's a possibility, but after what we saw from Crowan's Hanzo on Tomb of the Spider Queen, they are going to continue to go with Genji.
I don't know if you can give Lutano Genji, J-How.
I mean, you know.
Crowan's Genji's good too. But I'm just scared of Lutano's Genji.
Don't have to be scared of it this game. So Hanzo's let through, so is Lucio, which is a high priority for Collusion. There's a lot of opportunities to get the wall ride factor, but I don't know if they'll prioritize it this highly. I feel like after one of their earlier games they might, and it's something that Collusion loves to play.
Haven't played it since that first game, and though they did win, they fell quite a bit behind. Hanzo Dahaka this game. Dahaka for Nasmus, gives the global, keeps the soak going. Hanzo is going to be very annoying about the sapper camps.
I almost feel like that's going to force out an early Leoric pick. And it's something, if not, maybe Malthael post second ban. And I say that because Dahaka obviously has the global value on this map. He's one of the stronger globals. He can. We saw what it did earlier, where you could be aggressive with the engage, like we saw from Team 12. You could be aggressive with the early camps, and then you can turn a 5v4. And then the Malthael and Zeratul and things weren't able to keep up. We end up getting Uther again with the Anubarak, but I feel like Leoric's one of the few heroes that can kind of keep up with wave clear while keeping Dahaka honest, while also being able to make his way down a little bit more casual. Falstad also accomplishes the global side in wave clear.
I was going to say, I would be very surprised if that's not a Malthael ban. Because, yeah, Falstad keeps up with the global, but Malthael is such a good setup for Genji. You already have the Uther. You know that you don't have to deal with Cocoon, but Freedom would ban Falstad instead.
I mean, it does take away that factor of, like, if there's very few heroes that can say, all right, I've got a global, I'm going to turn this into a 5v4. What can you do to try and counter that? The other global there with Falstad does make sense. So it does keep that available. You also could kick it a little old school with the Cocoon Gust Away. And a Tassadar ban. Ooh, I did not expect to say that 2 weeks into HGC this year.
Welcome back, Tassadar. You were missed.
Was he?
Next 2 picks, Team Freedom.
You take that back. You take that back.
What's Zugrod gonna be on? Seems like Tyrael. Tyrael Greymane. I wondered if we would still keep getting quite a few Greymanes, but fall down in priority. You know, a lot of first pick Greymanes last week, and there's just a lot of counters. But if you set up in the way that you feel very confident in his ability to stay alive, them not having as many counters for him, and now having the Tyrael as a great enabler for him, I wonder if this is going to be where we see Greymanes a lot more in drafting from here on out.
It seems to fit the style a little bit more. You've got the frontline protection, the extra shields that can go towards Greymane. You also have Dahaka that has the self-sustain, so all around it makes Hanzo a little bit safer pick. We've seen, in the earlier draft on Tomb, we saw that backline kind of get targeted when they didn't have like the hard CC style follow-up in Johanna. So also different choke points here, but Genji, do we get a Leo just to keep it safe, or are we going back down the Sonya or Malthael direction? Well,
Either.
About damn time.
I mean, it solves the
so
global question. Yeah, it's just like, it's about time. It's about tootin' time. That opens up now, the support pick here. It could be Lucio. We haven't, I'm trying to think, collusion on what he might feel comfortable with. I mean, you've got Genji there. Again, the Cocoon, you don't have super fast auto attacks to deal with a Cocoon. And that's the thing, is Hanzo incredibly slow auto attacks unless you go level 1, but even then, that makes an Uberak that much more appealing. And so if you're on the backside and you're a support, it's a tough task.
Probably, I would expect to support with some mobility. Genji, Brightwing are going to split Freedom apart. So I would expect something with some mobility. Unless he's going to stay way far back. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Karzim.
Yeah, if you get split from the Emerald Wind, you just kind of dash back into your teammates. Makes it really easy to keep them alive that way, or at least like close that gap. So you have Divine Palm, most likely Sanctification, so you have multiple forms of protection for the back line and the front line. So I like your point there. The mobility, I think, is definitely going to be key there with the Karazim. Yeah,
mobility is going to help a lot. Earth's Ally as a potential to try to deal with the Tychus damage too. It's all about just that Cocoon, making sure that Palm and Sanctification aren't overlapping, so that they're really good for that too. But he does offer some extra dive along with the Tyrael, along with the Dahaka and the Greymane to try to get someone done, take someone out.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to, as you alluded to, the Brightwing bombs with Genji.
Yep.
You could also, in a sense, use it with the Nubarak. We just haven't seen it yet. But if you can get in, you Swift Strike in as the phase shift comes in, you use Emerald Wind, you get the split. And so I feel like there's multiple counterplays to be made here, and it's really going to be on to the coordination. Once you get past that combo of getting in, getting the Emerald Wind, I don't see how Hanzo is in any trouble after that. And even then, if you split them, you're likely splitting Hanzo and Karazim away from the rest of the team. Maybe Greymane's back there.
Right.
And Karazim already offers that protection. So the double support setup on the side of Heroes Hearth does not scream instant success for me.
Yeah, I would agree. And we'll see how it works out for them as they take on Team Freedom trying to win this game. They're going to bring the double support and hopefully take us to Game 5. We shall see.
Towers of Doom. Some of the most epic matches we've ever had have been on this battleground. We saw a dominant performance from Team 12 earlier. One of these teams will look to replicate that type of dominance and either finish out the series or send us to that Game 5 you were talking about.
Arthalon seems to be more on the double support, the secondary support, playing Tassadar twice, and now on the Brightwing, which leaves McIntyre to flex over from his more comfortable, or not comfortable, but more often played role of melee, now busting out the Tychus.
And for me, this is a far cry from their drafts in week 1. And this is kind of what I expected in week 1. Was that flexibility, was that change up? had some success so far in one victory, and obviously game one up until the end, but it's definitely a positive, I'd say, today for Heroes Hearth.
Yeah, they do have their work cut out for them. Not only is the global of Heroes Hearth, as you're about to see, a weak global, thankfully having a polymorph to stop Yoda from getting that first blood. She's going to have difficulty in that lane. There's also a ton of murking pressure from Team Freedom. Level 4, the scatter arrow there, serrated arrows, Hanzo can do a ton from that. Greymane can do a ton from that too. The mobility, Team Freedom can show up, try to get those early picks. But the murking should be there for Team Freedom so that they can keep constant pressure on Heroes Hearth. Now, Crone's going to come in, put some damage on Nasmus, trying to keep him back.
Yeah, the wave clear on the side of Heroes Hearth is pretty lacking.
Yes.
In Uther, not great. Brightwing, despite being in the solo lane, not great. Tychus is pretty decent. Anubarak, okay. Genji is, we've already seen him kind of be that rotational flex style hero. And this is where the power of the globals might come in on this dive onto the invade.
Yeah, the invade's here from Zugrug. We've seen neither of them just yet. The stock going down now confirms that Nasmus is just totally fine with coming all the way down. He can use the Brush Stalker, the movement speed bonus from that, to edge his way back up to the top lane. I really like seeing Team Freedom have this much focus on the camps in the bottom. Take advantage of the lack of wave clear for Heroes Hearth. Take advantage of those great mercenary heroes that you have so that you can do the same thing we saw in the last Towers of Doom game, which is put so much pressure on, so much damage on that you take an early bell tower, and then from there, the world is your oyster, it feels like, on towers.
And I think the reason why we saw Arthlon not even hint at that, maybe they didn't want to take that fight, but furthermore, Dahaka had that lane fairly pushed out. And if you go in there and you take a team fight, you give up that much more experience in that top lane. And I think that that's one of the things is the wave clear, the global aspect of Team Freedom should dominate this early game. And it's up to Heroes Hearth to really take team fights, take skirmishes. And we have our first altar phase, which will be a triple altar phase, and it's on to them to start this game off for them now. They can't wait till post 10. They have to find opportunities now.
Yeah, this is a crucial example of the times for Heroes Hearth to get into skirmishes and fights. Genji's on one side as BBJ is looking for the stun to set up as he can come on through. Crone gets the Swift Strike, but it's just absent of the damage necessary for collusion as he dashed on out to safety. BBJ's gonna start the channel. Nasmus is gonna come in. Hits a perfect drag on Uther as Brightwing is forced to phase shift in. Anubarak's not here, he's getting the top.
Yeah, they did just enough to stall it out, to buy time, take advantage of their global before Brightwing could come in. I mean, Team Freedom right now is doing really, this is a clinic for Heroes Hearth draft-wise. You know, it's causing them to struggle, but Team Freedom showing exactly what you're supposed to do against this style draft. Finds themselves almost a full level up, and they got 2 out of the 3 altars.
I know you said you wanted Heroes Hearth to get aggressive earlier on, but where do you see the big advantage come in for them in team fights versus Team Freedom's comp?
Well, I mean, I think they can use kind of an early Brightwing bomb, especially post level 7 where you give that shield. If you can go in, get onto that backside, you've got an Ubrak, you've got the armor, you've got the shield. You know, there's so much that you have potential-wise, but again, the Tychus pick, once you get through all that, you know, where does your engage come from? Right now, you're freely giving up camps all over the map. You've given up both the bottom, you've given up the top already once, and you've not even hinted at trying to find a counter towards it.
Yeah, heroic abilities, having the actual Brightwing bomb will be really big in boss control. Unless you've got the Holy Ground, we're going to see how that plays in, but of course that doesn't come in until 16. That's a long time for Heroes Hearth to be able to get something done with that. But before that, the struggle has been real for Heroes Hearth in this. And Team Freedom, well on their way to trying to take that bottom bell tower. The only thing saving it is that Heroes Hearth has been pretty aggressive, being out, trying to make sure that they keep those sappers from running into the fort. We've got an altar activating in 20 seconds.
Yeah, you know, we bring up the Brightwing bomb, and the problem that I have is if you're not able to execute any type of initiation this early, what's going to be different when you miss that Emerald Wind? And speaking of Emerald Wind, we've got the phase shift coming in, gives you that spell armor, gives you that shield, but Nasmus finishing the job there on to tank us on the backline.
Yeah, these fights have been really chaotic in these last couple of games between these two teams. just breaking out all over the place. Heroes Hearth were sort of trying to defend on one point. Crowan went in, put some damage on the back line, forced them back. But then Tychus falling. Team Freedom getting further and further ahead as they are level 9, working on heroics and starting the channel between these altars.
Arthalon
Nice poly.
eating the peel there and the poly. Save his life. Still have an altar up, but here we go. There it is. There's the engage that you need. Get on in. Let Crowan do work. He's going to get another kill here in just a moment. We've got a burrow underground. That is the initiation they're going to need. That's what I would have expected from them earlier in the game. Take advantage of the fact that you have Crowan on Genji. Take advantage of the fact that you have the global and get onto that Hanzo on that backside and punish them. And you know, they executed it there, but they're still down. And now they've got to try and get some structure damage here with the Sappers to close this gap.
Yeah, close the gap, take out the towers, get heroic abilities, and keep the momentum going. But Brightwing needs to keep being safe. Arthalon has done a good job of that solo laning with Brightwing. There was the first time where he got ganked with a drag, but other than that, he has been really cautious, knowing that it's just as likely that Team Freedom sends someone up to get that gank, because they can get a lot of damage done if Brightwing goes down up there, especially since it seems to be Team Freedom sending Greymane a lot to the top lane.
Yeah, with Greymane showing at the top, Heroes Hearth, you know, they're starting to make their way down here. They know that Greymane can't necessarily get up, and so they don't have to give up a potential camp here. The Sapper camp, obviously a crucial part of that bottom lane strength. They do finally get the one of their own, plus they had taken the one on the side of Team Freedom, so things starting to turn around here slowly.
All right, 10 is here. Cocoon's gonna help stave off some of the pressure from Team Freedom. Emerald Wind too, and the Divine Shield. A lot of different ways of stopping Team Freedom once they decide to go in. Sanctification can go for the throat. Single altar phase in the bottom lane as the globals continue to do battle in the top. But Brightwing, although Arthalon has stayed safe, has been feeling the wrath of that constant Sapper camp pressure.
Yeah, he's just like, please no more. Ishbu being dove upon, the counter engage so far. There it is. There's the Brightwing bomb. Arthalon going in with Crowan, trying to get on that backside. Sanctification is down, thwarting off that Dragon Blade, and they're going to see if they can find any more. But a lot of damage was done there. Collusion trying to heal it back up.
Sanctification was good. Collusion didn't quite have the heal off of cooldown, but thankfully they got far enough away from the Dragon Blade that they waited out that cooldown. Team Freedom still have a lot of re-engage measures, especially that Dragon Blade, which is used just to keep Nazmus alive. Nazmus hoping that he could drag someone in. Now Crowan goes down, but so does the Palm. It saves Nazmus.
Yeah, the Palm, good execution on both sides there. Arthalon, in the meantime, is getting the channel on the backside while the rest of the team continues to zone him out. McIntyre keeping Zugrug at bay as he's ripping through his health pool. Heroes Hearth seems to be finding their stride right now, Gilly. It's looking a lot better than those first 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, the Emerald Wind didn't separate any of Freedom away, but it did just push him back, and the threat of Crowan was just enough to force out the Sanctification. And in being able to force the Palm too, Team Freedom just lost out on that cooldown for cooldown trade in the heroic abilities. Knowing that Divine Shield was still there and the double support, that's just gonna work better for Heroes Hearth. If Team Freedom can't get a kill from that because they're on the single support or playing the single support comp, Interior does sort of help with that somewhat, but it's still going to favor Heroes Hearth in those long, long fights with having both BBJ and Brightwing. Uther and Brightwing.
BBJ new hero confirmed.
BBJ skin of Uther. I see it coming.
Could happen. Either way, Sappers being defended here in the bottom. Good job, Heroes Hearth, to hold it a little bit this time. They lost their gates early, but a little bit more defensive tools. They've got their eyes on Arthalon as Dahaka has that extra movement speed. So does Arthalon. Good polymorph to stop the tongue. Can he get in there? He does. The isolation missed.
That was excellently done from Arthalon. That was just about all of Team Freedom. It made him use the Emerald Wind, which means they won't have it at the start of this Ultra phase. But Heroes Hearth actually want to get maybe into a fight before then as they rotate up. Zugrug's keeping an eye on that.
The threat of Ishbu, they did not know where the rest of Heroes Hearth were. Generally, you would say commit to that if you don't see anybody, but Ishbu peeling off, making sure to just show the threat of initiation, kept their bell tower alive. Nicely done. Emerald Wind 20 seconds away before we get that Brightwing bomb again.
Yeah, and there's the poke from McIntyre, and Team Freedom are forced in through a choke. Nobody else is even available to go through. Dahaka just staying in the top to push back Arthalon, so it seemed like Team Freedom was just keeping the rest of Heroes Hearth down here at the altar, willing to give it up in favor of trying to finally take out that top bell tower. They haven't been able to gank Arthalon, but at least with the good wave clear, the push, the focus on this camp, Team Freedom have done a number to that fort.
This Crowan guy here, he's pretty good. He continues to just, he's not able to finish a lot of these because he's by himself, but the amount of threat that he's putting against Team Freedom, it's really keeping them honest. I really expected a bit more of an aggressive stance with the Dahaka flank, the Tyrael Greymane dive with the Kharazim and just kind of bring Hanzo along with you. But so far, I really feel like a lot of the early pressure that Crowan's put in on Genji has really thwarted that.
Team Freedom have been like clockwork, going to this top shrine after every single phase of this top sapper camp and getting that with Nasmus and Greymane. Not finding the pick, I thought we would see Heroes Hearth hard go to the bottom, try to use that Genji mobility, fight 4v5 over the sappers at least so that they don't give up a double camp for Freedom in both of those areas, but Heroes Hearth didn't get there in time, or wanted to make sure to just keep Genji up in the top since this time that fort is getting too low. They just don't want to give that up. But it does feel like eventually that bell tower is going to go down, and maybe Heroes Hearth would have liked to just go and take this camp away so that they don't have to deal with this pressure. But they are at least clearing this out so that the sappers don't run in.
We've got another camp under assault here. Hanzo with the super clear there. Normally you might find a way to defend that, but Hanzo's like, I'm not giving you any time. Gilly, we've got a triple altar phase here.
Yeah. It makes sense for Heroes Hearth want to keep that fort alive too, knowing that the next phase is the triple altar phase. It keeps them in the game. They're tied up in bell towers, and as they've proven before, the poke is really good as a zoning tool here. Now Zugrug dives in deep to stop the channel for this, as the top two altars are traded out for the shot, so it all comes down to this bottom one, and that's claimed by Heroes Hearth.
It just feels like the tale of two games right now. Heroes Hearth struggled mightily to get any type of initiation, to get any type of clear. Oh, Hanzo, by the way. You know, you're giving up a boss for bottom lane control. Is it really going to be valuable? They're going to turn their attention to this top bell tower. How'd that landed, Gilly? That's a dead Arthalon.
This is the Brightwing of legend. Arthalon will not be touched. We've had Greymane Dahaka ganks with a speedy Dahaka. Gets into the minion wave, polymorphs, Emerald wins. We've had a full team engage with a Dragon's Arrow. Arthalon is not to be stopped on this Brightwing, and I, my friend, love it.
Brightwing fan, I hear. Here comes the Brush Stalker. Let's see if Brightwing comes in early. There's the Holy Ground, the cleanse forced over onto a Nubarak. But we're going to see the potential re-engage here as the Polymorph, the cleansing touch there. They're coming in.
Yeah, Sanctification is the end of that for Heroes Hearth. They want nothing to do with that. Trying to reconvene together on the retreat, but these Holy Grounds are wrecking Heroes Hearth. Finally, they get back. Thankfully, they still have that bottom bell tower that they have worked so tirelessly to keep a hold of. That looked pretty scary. The setup from Team Freedom was nice. The Emerald Wind pushed Zugrug down, the rest of the team back. Couldn't really get anything from that, and then had to run away. And how? Those Holy Grounds make that difficult.
Whenever you have to use your heroics defensively, if you're on the side of Heroes Hearth, you know you're going to have a little bit of a problem. D-Shield was used. They had the Emerald Wind as well. Both D-Shield won't be here just yet. But double altar phase, we're going to see sapper pressure in the bottom and possibly just a trade here in the top.
Trade slightly favors Heroes Hearth, but it's still anyone's game with these 4 health. Important to remember that Team Freedom, currently leading in this series, win this game, they win the series. And they have finally gotten that bottom bell tower. Ishbu comes in. Zugrug is right behind this. Holy Ground's a team away.
Phase shift, there it goes. There's the Brightwing bomb. Odin is out as well, but the tongue has landed onto Ishbu, who is forced to use the cocoon defensively one more time. We are back in 4th here.
Burrow charge out. Zugrug trying to be stopped to keep Ishbu alive. The Holy Ground will slow down McIntyre and BBJ from getting back to the safety of the kill zone, but they're both very healthy. The Brightwing bomb went down but the Emerald window was pretty easy for Team Freedom to avoid and then just chase back. Now that Holy Ground's online, Team Freedom seems to be in full control of these fights.
It's definitely turned the tides, to say the least. Hanzo getting another camp, which means that they're just going to kind of handcuff HeroesHearth to the bot lane. They're going to be forced to respond. They've got their eyes on Dahaka.
Collusion's here if the Palm's needed. Yoda's starting to come in, so is Tyrael. So we're going to try to split this up with the Holy Ground. Doesn't want to get too far in. Freedom, the ones in control of this game, the ones closer to 20. It just seems, even though Freedom is further behind in the core health, the fact that a lot of these heroic abilities are being burned by HeroesHearth and Freedom are not even having to use Palm, they're not using Sanctification, sort of feels like HeroesHearth might be running out of steam in this series, J-How.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really good, I mean, this is that Holy Ground potentially going down there. It's going to lock Arthlon in. That was calculated. The Sanctification is down as well. And Brightwing goes pop. I mean, I was about to comment on them going in on a choke, and then it just happened. And Arthlon walked in. The rest of the team kind of split. Divine Shield again used defensively. And Gilly, we're now looking at 6 core health that will be here. This is, man, HeroesHearth is struggling right now.
6 shots till the end. While HeroesHearth held on, the Brightwing finally fell, and that might be the moment we look back on as knowing that the game was over. It is in my hearts, at least, as poor Brightwing died. But with 20 almost here, shots trying to escort in.
They have to keep this off. The boss is about 40 seconds away, and if they give up 2 of these, a boss is game. So they have to keep these out of the core. It looks like they've successfully defended.
Defense is good as Dahaka heads to the top. 20 online for Team Freedom. Yoda going back in.
So you ready for a Sanctification ending to this game?
Yep.
Could happen, but we've got a Dragon Arrow out. Brightwing forced to shift in onto Tychus just to keep him alive. This bottom lane, Gilly, is so powerful. There's the laughter of the boss.
The boss is up. Nasmus working on this Saber camp to push that top in, making it really only in the mid a good place for HeroesHearth. Freedom hasn't head up to the boss just yet, though. They've got an altar spawning, and if they can get that top lane down, that altar will be game.
I mean, furthermore, they've got 20-tier advantage, so getting the altar makes it easier. Sapper Camp also pushing the bot lane. I mean, there's just so many tools for Team Freedom to end this game. HeroesHearth, they're going to be in desperation mode, and that desperation mode starts right now. They are just in a bad spot. Bad spot.
HeroesHearth seems to be in a checkmate situation as Team Freedom continue to move the pieces toward their victory. Dealing with the Sappers, they've dealt with top, but there's still the problem of the altar and 5 shots barreling toward their core, setting their core at a measly 1 health. HeroesHearth give it up. They give up the altar in favor of 20, a last-ditch effort for a defense. There's Sappers in the bottom. There's a boss up in the top.
Yeah, those Sappers will keep your attention bot lane. If one of them makes it across, it's game. If the boss is picked up, it's game. Right now, Team Freedom trying to close it out here against HeroesHearth. There's the cleanse onto Anubarak as he goes in. The cocoon is out, and it's up to Genji to try and finish the job.
Brightwing phase shifted in. There's nobody down in the bottom lane now against that Sapper camp. Brightwing was the one who was being used in the bottom lane, and there it is. Team Freedom may have lost the boss, but they win the game and the series.
Gilly, sometimes you just gotta say, look, we're gonna have to take a 4 and 5. We're gonna have to probably do it down a talent tier, and you gotta hope for the best.
But that's your boss control, your Brightwing. I wonder if maybe someone else, like leave someone else down there instead. The minute that we saw them head up and Brightwing was the bottom, I was like, no, this is who you need for the boss. And it was. They brought her onto the point. They got the boss, but it left the bottom lane wide open.
Well, Team Freedom is the reason because of all that. I mean, they created that opportunity. The minute, you know, it was like first 6 minutes went to Team Freedom, the second 6 minutes went to HeroesHearth, the last 6 minutes went back to Team Freedom. And it just seemed like a seesaw effort. You know, HeroesHearth started to get into their groove, figure out what they were going to do, and then the brakes kind of stalled a little bit. You know, Hanzo did an incredible job poking people down on the side of Team Freedom. So big credit out to the Hanzo for taking off a lot of that hero pull or that health bar, forcing the reset, and then it made it really hard for them to use their heroics to engage on the side of Heroes Hearth. So, credit to Team Freedom for definitely recovering that game and just forcing the issue for the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of that game.
Yeah, honestly, credit to Team Freedom for keeping their mental fortitude in the series, too. We had talked about that for Heroes Hearth, but for Freedom to be quite down in the first game on Sky, to lose second game, then come in and have the Shrines game that they had where they were extremely dominant in the early game, and then to have their final game on Towers of Doom, which has long been a favored battleground for Team Freedom, showing us why so many teams have been saying that Freedom belongs in the top, counted among the top teams in North America. But for Heroes Hearth, I say market improvement, even between the series versus Tempo to this series. It was the same result, but we're seeing a lot of growth for Heroes Hearth.
Yeah, they've still got some to go. I really feel like that first game they should have won. The second game, obviously, they took on Tomb of the Spider Queen in dominant fashion, but the last two games, it feels like they kind of stalled out in some of their macro decisions, and hopefully, they'll go back, they'll look at, the replays, figure out some things they could have done differently, and that will improve their shot calling. That's part of the thing. They are one of the longest-standing rosters, or the longest-standing roster that we have, because they formed and then did not make any changes or could not make any changes, but the level of play, obviously, is different here, and, it's going to be a learning lesson along the way. They're still a really good team with a lot of potential. I still look for them to be one of the top teams as the season goes on. But today and last weekend, they're off to a rocky start, 0-2.
Well, how do you feel, when do you feel like that's going to come in for Heroes Hearth Esports? How long do you think it takes for them to be in, the top 3, 4 teams? Do you think they're already there? Do you think it'll be post-Western Clash?
It's definitely going to be post-Western Clash, especially now, Tempo Storm and Team Freedom firmly at top 1 and 2 right now, or tied 1, however you want to look at it. They'll face each other on Sunday. But the fact of the matter is that Team Freedom was kind of maybe that potential gatekeeper for me, or they were going to be there. They've firmly planted themselves near the top. And so Heroes Hearth, for what it's worth, has actually played the 2 best teams, or 2 of the 3 best teams that we have in the league today. So it's not all down and out. I mean, they still have multiple ways to get back in. It's just they're going against 2 really good teams to open up the year.
Yeah, quite a difficult start to the year. Let's check in with Team Freedom. We're having a pretty good start to the year, having now 2 victories. Hey, Lutano, congratulations. How are you guys feeling about that series so far?
Feeling really good. It was a really great series, well played from both teams. Really happy to win it.
Well, that's good to hear. You now have, I want to talk to you a bit about your transition over to Team Freedom. Losing the Crucible with even a death and then getting picked up by Team Freedom. What did that mean to you? Did it add any pressure for you to perform?
Actually, it was a big relief. I mean, Heroes is my job. I love it, and it's all I really want to do. And it was amazing to be picked up by Freedom, and I'm really glad they gave me the opportunity.
And what has it been like learning alongside this awesome team?
I mean, they're teaching me so much. I say a bunch of silly things in draft. They all groan at me sometimes, but they're teaching me a bunch, and it's great.
That's awesome to hear. Jayha?
Yeah, Lutano, to kind of further that point, I obviously casted you a lot during Open Division the early part of last year. Got to see you kind of grow up, go on to the Pro Division there the second half. I get to see you now. Your name was one that I called a lot. And, you say it hasn't really been the pressure, but the way that you've stood out the first 2 weeks, do you feel like you kind of deserve to be here? Maybe you've deserved to be here all along. Like, where do you see yourself amongst the others and your peers right now?
I think I still have a lot to learn. It was a big step coming up from Even in Death and going to Team Freedom, so I'm just really grateful for the opportunity, and I'm really excited to play against Tempo on Sunday. So see the best teams in NA, see how it goes down.
You look over there, we see names like Psalm and Fan on the backside, 2 I guess people that mirror your role. If you get a win there, what does that say about you?
It says nothing about me, man. It's all my team. They're a bunch of great players, and they really carry me and let me shine. So.
A humble approach, man. You've played phenomenal the first few series, and congratulations, man. Definitely look forward to seeing what you can do on Sunday.
Thank you so much, and congrats on your casting spot in HGC as well.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, Lutano, let us know what you think about Tempo Storm in that match. You guys gonna win?
I think we're gonna have a really good fight. Team 12 and Tempo, they had a great showdown, and we're hoping to put up the the same entertaining quality match. I think we'll take it 3-2, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I am super pumped for it. Glad to hear you are too, and good luck to you in that series. The floor is yours for shoutouts.
Shout outs to my team, the fans. Shout out to our analyst Lex Uther. Shout outs to HyperX, Team Freedom, all that, and shout outs to my girlfriend.
All right. Thank you, Lutano. Congrats again.
Thank you.
Lex Uther. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Still one of my favorites.
That's
I mean,
an awesome name.
yeah, you know, when I sit in on scrims, I see him there. It's just kind of like a little bit of nostalgia. He's been around the scene for
Right?
a very, very long time.
Oh,
and
man.
it's Lex Uther.
He was one of the first players I was casting back in the amateur series Heroes Hype. That's very cool. I'm excited to hear that he is still around, still hanging out and helping out the Heroes teams. All right, let's check in with the schedule for tomorrow and see what you can expect for your Saturday viewing pleasure.